Tituss Burgess, thank you for joining us. I am shamelessly wearing my baby slut shirt. I don't know if people can see. So I first have to ask if you kept your baby slut shirt from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Even if I kept it, I probably couldn't fit in it because I've been eating everything.
Do you know where it is? It's just in like a prop closet somewhere.
I think it is. The only thing I stole from set is a Barbie doll.
Ooh. He did have a lot of dolls.
I did. He did.
Yeah. Well, I love Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend, the interactive special. And I was very sad when Netflix announced season 4 was going to be the last season, but then they announced this movie, the special. So what was it like for you guys? Because usually when it's the final season, there's a finality to it, and you might be sad to be saying goodbye, but you have this movie on the horizon.
Yeah, it was a strange set of emotions. We found out while we found out in the middle of season 4 that it would be the last season. Tina Fey called me, and I could tell it in the tone, tell by the tone in her voice. I was like, oh no. But she also said in the same breath, there's a good chance that we might be making a movie. And so, I don't know. It was both a time of sadness and mourning a little bit, but also excitement because it felt like another extension, a continuation, if you will. So, I don't know. I didn't have time to really process all of my emotions because right after we wrapped season 4, we went into press for season 4, and then right after press we started filming the movie, so it didn't feel like that much distance had gone by, so it wasn't that much of a feeling of like I'm not ever going to see the gang again. And with the way that they structured the story, darting back and forth between time periods, obviously in the bunker and then present day, and then of course this interactive special starts I think 5 years later. I would say there's every chance that another one of these could maybe happen. No.
Is this are you breaking news for us?
No. No one said that to me. That is just
that's going to be the headline. I mean, I think people will want more, and I really think this interactive special worked really well, just because of all the dead ends, and I think comedy really lends itself to this format. So what was your reaction when you found out it wasn't just a movie, it was interactive special?
Well, I had never seen, how do you even call it? I've never seen a program that was an interactive special, choose your own adventure, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have anything to compare it to, and I saw a little slither of what is it, Bandersnatch? Is
the Black Mirror.
So it didn't affect how I felt about what we were about to do, and it just felt like we were, filming a movie that has 900 endings. So yeah.
Have you seen all the endings? Because I'm pretty sure I haven't.
No, they sent me a version where all the choices, if you make all the right choices, if you will. But people keep posting, oh, I made you take a nap, or you guys died today, or whatever. So, and there was so much material. I don't even remember all of the different endings and versions of the scenes and such. So no, I need to give it another look just to see what we were up to.
Or how did this affect your preparation, if at all? Just because there's so many different versions to keep track of, and then would you shoot the multiple choices like back to back successively, or was there like a break between like scenes, like if you're eating the Woodland Banquet and then you have to go do Explosion Man?
Right. This is more of a question for the director. How to articulate it? We would film all of the different depending on the location, that would dictate what we shot and how many versions of it, and then sometimes we would cross shoot. So the blocking would be, how do you articulate this? The blocking would be the same, but the scene would be different. So it was very confusing. And
You just showed up.
It was very, very confusing. But Claire Scanlon is a wonderful, wonderful director, and she kept that train on track because with that many different versions and trying to put the puzzle together, it could have easily gone off the rails. But she would remind Ellie and I where we were in the story, but there was a couple times where Ellie and I got our wires crossed and we were in two different scenes because but both of us knew that we were in the other scene. So that made for some funny outtakes.
I'm sure there were plenty of that with other people too, probably.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think like your crowning moment in it is when you perform Freebird. So first of all, have you heard from Leonard Skinner about your performance yet?
I have not. And in fact, I had never heard Freebird before I performed it that day.
They didn't teach it to you in high school in English?
I never heard that song before.
Well, was it always going to be Freebird in the script, or was that just what they could clear?
I believe at the table read that it was in fact Freebird. I believe so. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how many takes did that take for you to do the whole song?
Oh. Well, Jeff Richmond, my musical buddy, just kind of let it go on and on and on and on. And, they wanted me to be more and more ridiculous. I mean, we did one version where I was straight ahead and and then the other version where he takes several liberties and begins to ad-lib, but I don't know if anyone catches that. Literally one of the ad-libs is like, that's a guitar. It is so ridiculous.
He was like pointing out all the different instruments on stage.
And swears he's nailing it. It's so funny to me. I love that character.
Mm-hmm. Well, the alternate version, if you pick that he thinks he knows the lyrics, you sing Titus's Pet Shop version of it. Are those lyrics Jeff Richmond originals?
Oh goodness, there's sometimes sometimes the writers do some of the lyrics, and then sometimes Jeff would do it. So I don't want to misspeak to that because I'm not entirely sure.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite scene or option in the film?
Take a nap, which is something that I'm very talented at.
I think a lot of people can do that pretty well too. I also enjoyed when you read The Baby to Filth.
Oh, that was fun. That was really, really fun. And also rolling around eating that sandwich because he was so... The whole thing actually was a blast. I mean, they give me such ridiculous things to do and such funny things to do. And, being a part of that whole lot and that crew is just an embarrassment of riches, truly. Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you look back on Titus's arc and growth throughout the whole series in a movie? Because he could have easily come off as this just fun, narcissistic, actor type. And I think, even in the pilot, you could think he's trying to take advantage of Kimmy because he just wants her rent money. But right. He genuinely likes her to become friends. He looks out for her. And end of season 1, it's kind of parallel to the movie because he goes to Indiana for her trial. And here he's volunteering to go to Indiana and then West Virginia to, right. Find those girls. So how do you look back on his arc?
One of the things that I always try and remind people is, Titus Andromedon came out very, very late. And when gay people, when people are forced to live inauthentically, because of certain social constructs. It produces behavioral patterns and gives way to choices that perhaps they wouldn't make had they had the opportunity to really be who they are at the core. So it, for me, informed how we met Titus in season 1, and it explained to me why he was the way he was. So he's not just a narcissist or selfish or sort of a me I'm first. It was born out of, he kind of had to be that way, and then there's also the repression of his sort of femininity, if you will. So once he got to New York and was able to live out loud, I think he did it with such ebullient and such flair, and there was such an inner sort of feeling of, oh, finally I can cut loose. That I think the lines began to blur for him. How the right way to treat people, and I think that sort of selfish edge that people associate with that character is a result of having to hold on to everything he's got for with all these holding on for dear life. So that being said, I love the introduction of Mikey into the storyline.
That's couple.
Because suddenly he had an involuntary response to putting someone else before him. And I think that started to usher Titus's storyline and his journey, and began to lure him into who we now know him to be at the end of the series, which is a man who is capable of loving, a man who is capable of being unselfish, a man who is capable of empathy, a man who is capable of putting others first. So I love that arc.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love Mikey and Titus because they're like an adorable couple, but also I think one of the most underrated aspects of their relationship is when they break up, because I feel like the lemonade of it all, which was amazing, kind of overshadowed their actual breakup, because then Titus broke up with him because he was like, there's too much pressure being like your first boyfriend, and I need to let you go for now, and if we're meant to be together, like we'll find each other again.
Yeah, that was, there's so much truth in that, and I love that they gave this couple, especially a gay couple, the opportunity to explore that and give that voice, because the truth is it is difficult when you have been out for so long, when you have become, I don't want to say fully formed, but you've lived enough, you've dated enough, you know what heartbreak is like. And there are certain things that you can only experience single, and there's only things that you'll ever learn about the culture unless you become more social. And I think the danger with Mikey, or the danger that Titus felt that he would be putting Mikey in, is not allowing Mikey to explore all of those things for himself, and I think that was probably the most unselfish thing Titus ever did in that show.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of lemonade, you sung a lot on the show. there's a lot of amazing songs written by Jeff and like the writers. But like the big ones are Lemonade, Pinot Noir, and Boobs in California. Do you have one of those that did you really liked or enjoy, whether you sang it or not? Like I'm partial to the Great American Songbook, like that whole episode. when you did like Sondheim's Pinocchio and all that stuff.
I think my favorite song from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is, I think it's called Just Go On. From Gangly Orphan Jeff.
Yes. So Jeff Richmond so beautifully captured the essence of Annie and Charles Strauss's score, but also created something wholly uniquely and unique to the show, and so new and fresh, but also just so poignant and simple, and just sort of the best instructions I think any human can be given, and it's so catchy. But that was my favorite moment, singing that with Carol Kane. Excuse me.
I think another deep cut is Outside Bones, about the teeth that you said when you were sick. It's forgotten, but it's okay. Well, you have a lot of stuff going on because you just dropped a new single, Dance FF, and you have Apple TV Plus's Central Park coming out, and you have hopefully Respect, the Aretha Franklin biopic coming out later this year. But I want to single out Dismantled on Quibi, because when I first read the synopsis and you were hosting it, and it's you firing food at people's faces and they have to recreate the dish, and I was like, this sounds like it could exist in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Did you have that reaction to, like, this is something that like Titus would host?
I don't know that I thought that, but what I enjoy is blowing stuff up is terribly satisfying. And so, hurling food across, it combined everything I love: blowing things up and food, and cooking. And in fact, we got picked for season 2.
Ooh, congratulations. Is there a specific dish you want to be used next season, to be smashed in people's faces?
Well, the messier the better. I love it when there's a ton of ingredients. I don't know, maybe a lasagna, maybe some sort of beef stew or something that just will just smother everywhere and be nearly impossible to recreate. Something really, really difficult. Maybe some French food.
The dirtier and the wetter, the better, yeah.
Yes.
Well, as you referenced earlier, you would be open to revisiting Kimmy Schmidt again down the road, maybe, if it ever happens. So what would you like to see if you ever get to step into Titus Andromedon's shoes again? Like, whether he and Mikey, like, as parents, like this Explosion Man, launch him into Stratosphere?
This is going to be a boring answer, but I never know in advance, the trajectory for Titus, for the rest of the gang, and I almost prefer it that way. I like being surprised too, and it helps me generate, I think, a more authentic performance. So I never really have hopes for the character, because honestly, he's done everything and he's been everywhere. So maybe he's running for political office. That would be fun.
Titus for president. Titus 2024. Here we go. Or no, well, it's 2028 then, because you guys are way ahead in that timeline. So
that's right.
Yeah. All right, Titus. Well, it was great speaking with you. I hope we get this next interactive special with Titus running for president. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Okay, thank you.